Hello and welcome to another episode of New Game Plus. I'm your host, Jason. It's another quarantine edition for us. We're all still sitting inside after the coronavirus pandemic took off, but it's not all bad news. It's not all bad news. We do have some very cool content for you with Pirate Warriors 4 review. We have Don back with another quiz time event where they all cheat, because they all cheat. They all cheat. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake review, another very weeby episode, but it's that time of year that all the Japanese games come out. So we do hope that you will enjoy, but for now, something completely different.
After weeks of deliberation, we've finally come to a consensus and released our top gaming songs of the last decade. There was an amazingly diverse list of games, from surefire picks like Nier Automata and Undertale, to games such as Max Payne 3, Mass Effect 3, and even one of the Gundam Versus games. But we also wanted to give a shout out to you, the viewers, who helped to round out the playlist and pick some really cool tracks. So firstly we have Jordan Tibbetts, who selected Leaving Earth from Mass Effect 3. He writes, "It's a song that sets the tone for the whole game. Simple, yet grand tune, playing at such a gloomy moment in the beginning, you get the feeling that all events that follow aren't going to be easy." Fair enough. Second, we've got Kaji, who picked Yorikobi no Uta from Catherine. Good choice. Per the track's name, it's impossible not to feel happy when hearing this track, he writes. Lastly, we've got Nicholas Tesla, who picked a beautiful song from Nier Automata. Intense, but stirs up your emotions, he says. Thanks to everyone who picked the track, and if you haven't already, go check out the playlist. Search for New Game Plus Top Gaming Songs of the Decade on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music. We'll have links on our social media, but please go check it out. It was a cool playlist. It was a cool initiative. Thank you to everyone who voted. Enjoy the playlist.
Now, as per usual, this time of the year is always reserved for Japanese games. They avoid Christmas specifically to especially for the Western audiences, to allow maximum kind of sale and potential. And One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is exactly one of those games. And it is exactly kind of what you would expect out of a Pirate Warriors game, and yet it still leaves me feeling a little bit underwhelmed by it, because at its core it is still the same thing. Like, Pirate Warriors 3 was fantastic. I got it on the Switch, played the hell out of it. Like, I didn't 100% it, but I got about as close as you can get without questioning your own sanity. And I think the big thing that I took away from it was it did a great job of bringing that Muso style into, like, but also explaining the story. 4 does that in the same kind of way, and some of the way that they like some of the UI aesthetics and stuff like that are really nice, but the art style is real bad. Like, they've changed the way they do cell shading, and I don't even think they do they do like a 3D model now, and they look like kind of melted plasticine, like similar to the problem that One Punch Man and Jump Force had. The Jump Force is obviously way worse, but it just doesn't look like an anime game anymore. Like, it looks like they've tried to go like full 3D model. And then the way that they've textured them is weird. Honestly, once you'll see some of the footage throughout the review, you'll see exactly what I mean. On top of that, they've added mechanics to try and make the gameplay a little bit different, but I don't think it differentiates enough. Like, there's an armor mechanic for most of the bigger bosses now. There's like different movement options and things like that they've added, and that's all well and good. But it's like, it is just the same thing, and that is the kind of the problem that Muso games always face. I just feel in this particular instance, it's most egregious because of how good Pirate Warriors 3 is. Like, it feels like, not a regression, but it feels like it didn't really add anything by doing what it's done. But I guess it's better just to get a second opinion to see if I'm completely off the case on this one. So I'm going to bring in Jamie to have a chat about the ongoing One Piece game, well, the Pirate Warriors series, because we had the discussion the other week about One Punch Man and My Hero Academia, and this is that third type that we discussed in that third type of anime game, the Muso game. And
Right.
we've had Berserk and we've had a bunch of others, but Pirate Warriors still kind of stands as probably the best anime crossover Muso game, and I'm sure I'm going to be corrected on social media about it as well.
Yeah, no, I really like to me, as I said before in the last review, like, it was probably the best type of genre, because it's partly because I play a lot of Muso games. I am that guy who will, I will play a Dynasty Warriors game, I will play Samurai Warriors, I will play any of these games, partly because that's kind of how I got into a lot of franchises. Like, I got into Gundam mostly because of one of those games, because it's familiar mechanics with a new story, and that to me is just that kind of sells it for me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to take away from that is, you're right. I think, we discuss a lot about how everything's got to be new and revitalized, and I don't necessarily think that's always true. You can just be a solid game that does something well, but introduces these story elements or introduces this. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It just the question becomes that kind of more academic question of whether it progresses everything. But I think Pirate Warriors is in that weird hole that Dynasty Warriors is in, is where year on year you have to wait to see if the actual additions that they make are going to make the game any better. And that is probably my biggest takeaway from this, is I'm not convinced that what Pirate Warriors 4 does makes it a better game than Pirate Warriors 3. Am I alone on that? I don't know. Is it just me?
I think it is just you, because I love some of the changes they made to it. Like, I mean, you mentioned like the armor stuff. Like, that's actually been in kind of a few other Warriors-like games, a few other Muso games. If we're going to go down that path. But one of the things they do now is they kind of break off every character into a different category. So I think it's like power, sky, technique, and I want to say speed.
Yeah.
So you got characters like Sanji now, who's a sky character, who's just all of his moves are just like, oh, I can just juggle hundreds of people now, and I can move around and be airborne for 20 seconds, which is like completely new to the game, and it's actually really fun. Now you've got characters like Bartolomeo, who is a technique character whose entire thing is about barrier, so he can do things like he can crowd control really well. He's a little weird to play as because he's unlike any other character in the game, but he's actually, it kind of gives you a little something, because if you play most of these Muso games, there's a lot, not exactly a lot different between most characters, but at least with this one, they're trying to do something different with every character.
That's what I'd say. Thank you, Jamie. And I guess, if anyone out there, if you haven't, wondered whether to go and play Pirate Warriors, maybe start at 3. What do you reckon?
Look, I think if you've never played if you're looking to get into One Piece, like, honestly, that's probably the best example, because it's kind of the one that at least covers way more of the story. And once you've kind of got onto that, you can go replay almost all Pirate Warriors 4 to catch up on the new stuff. So
there you go. Namco approves of buying both games.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another home edition of Quiz Time Event, where I test the New Game Plus crew and friends on the gaming news of the past 2 weeks. My name is Donald, and I am joined this week by Jack, Hope, and Jason. How are you all?
Getting by.
Better now that I can see Glee's not here.
Savage, but not new.
I mean, it wasn't as savage as the last Quiz Time Event where he just trounced you all.
Look, I swear, that was the one that he won fair and square. I'll pay you that one. Like, there was no cheating involved in that one. But I don't know, man. Like, he was on that buzzer. He must have just been waiting for you and then just hitting that buzzer.
Well, we did have a buzzer.
There was no cheating on that one. But that buzzer.
No, that's not cheating. I'm just saying. For the ones he didn't cheat, but he must have just been super quick. Like,
well, we return to our old cheating ways, because this time we are going to go with the classic hands up, call your name out buzzer, so that the people at home can actually hear the buzzer this time.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep. So without further ado, let's just go straight into the news trivia for the past 2 weeks, starting with question 1. What is the name of Sony's new controller for the PlayStation 5? Jack.
Finish the fucking question!
No, you can
jump in before.
You can answer halfway through.
You can throw your hand up.
Yeah, that's a nice chance.
He said it before we recorded. It's fine. Dual sense. Stimulate your senses.
Yes, the DualSense controller is correct. Dual hopefully not being the number of hours we can play with it before we need to recharge the gosh darn thing. Next question.
It's true. I know it's sad.
It hit me too close to home. That's all.
2K has announced and will shortly release a new XCOM game called Chimera Squad. How many days before Gears Tactics does it come out? Take a guess.
I think it's 4.
Jason?
I think it's 4.
4 is correct.
Love that your new name is
well,
yeah, I don't think that's fair at all.
Quicker than someone saying
cheating. Throw it up.
Do you remember how we were talking about cheaters earlier, and you're like, oh, that person's too...
He's in there now. He just got that last question.
This all sort of stuff. But Jason, you still get that point asterisk, I guess. Yeah. So 4 days between.
I'll use my name then.
Yeah, and for 0 bonus points, how did Splash Damage and the Coalition react upon hearing this announcement?
They told Cliffy B still doesn't have a job.
Oh boy,
dude, he's so progressive.
Speaking of quotes,
guys.
Yeah, speaking of quotes, if you don't like our royalty system, you're welcome to quit. Quote-ish. Which studio CEO reportedly told this to his staff?
Jason, whatever my name is, Billy, whatever, I don't care.
Jason.
That would be Randy Pitchford.
That is indeed Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox, telling his employees that their bonuses would be much, much, much lower.
I'm gonna quickly
And-
hit the deep pulse light up and change my name to for now.
They couldn't buy houses because the whole point was that like when Borderlands 2 and like other big games really blew up, they were like, oh, here's a fat bonus, buy a house, and they did, and now they're bitter they can't buy houses. It's
But hey, they've got his magic and illusions.
and him playing
Made
ukulele.
those bonuses disappear.
I think part of it is from what I heard, they took pay cuts and they were promised that they would get the bonus at the end. So
It's known that they pay slightly lower on the basis that you get it back in performance bonuses, and then Randy's like, "Nah, I need a."
But hey, Claptrap, am I right, guys?
What a great deal.
I'm going to go prices right rules for this one, so you'll get a chance to answer. 2 Overwatch League players will each find how many dollars for typing big dick and sex into chat during their streams. I'm starting with you, Jason.
I'm gonna say.
Closest without going over. How much?
$14,999.
$14,999. Jack?
Like in their own Twitch streams?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna say 4,999.
A hope.
I thought they were fined $1,000 each.
Yes, that is correct, and I'll give you a bonus point for getting it on the thing. $1,000 each. Turns out that you can get that kind of action on OnlyFans for much, much lower than that.
But
Yeah,
it
you can learn
wasn't
that
the
from Randy
Twitch
Pitchford.
chat. It was they were typing in the chat that wasn't meant to be broadcasted online.
Yeah, no,
But
that's
it was.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean,
Yep.
we're just writing Blizzard off at this point, aren't we? Like, realistically, like, just give up on them. I think they're done.
But hey, well, you said that, but Diablo 4 will solve all of our problems, right?
That's true. You have a phone, right? Yeah, cool.
Dude, Always Online DRM worked out really well for them last time.
It actually worked out really well for everyone nowadays.
Yeah.
An
it's worked out
article,
really well for the money.
yeah, an article with the headline "Statements on Space Godzilla" was released by which card game?
Can you say that
my
again?
name.
No.
Jason, whatever.
Jason?
It's Hasbro, Magic the Gathering, whatever the company you want
Magic
to
the
call it.
Gathering is correct. It released Godzilla Tines for its latest set. However, one of the cards that got out before this whole COVID-19 outbreak was named Space Godzilla Death Corona.
Oh.
Bit of an
Yeah.
oversight there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Do we just need like a big Mothra then?
Is that how that works?
Yeah, no, turns out. Okay, which game won the BAFTA Games Award for Best Game?
Jack.
Jack.
BAFTA? Fuck.
Yeah, who won the BAFTA?
I mean, yeah,
I don't know.
didn't-
I think it's not Goose Game because that was GDC. So yeah.
3, 2, 1. Nope. Who else going for the
it's
steal?
Goose Game. It actually is Goose Game.
It's Goose Game.
I thought
No,
that was
it
the
isn't.
GD.
No, wait,
No,
it's Control.
No, it wasn't. It was indeed Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds won a BAFTA.
Yeah, it won for best game. It won for game design. It won for original property, and it won for the game I still have to think about and not try to confuse with Outer Worlds.
Yes, it's true.
The worst
Yes.
names. I swear to God.
But real good games. And
It's really
finally,
easy to remember.
yeah, it's the Outer Worlds.
No, but it is because Wilds is indie and it's Isled, and Worlds is Obsidian and it's World with an O.
It's a game.
So
Outer
easy.
Wilds came out first, so Outer Wilds, I waited while over what Outer Worlds came out. That's how that works.
Oh,
use
come
the
on, I meant
association.
that actually
Hit this
works.
stupid quick. Yeah.
Ooh, this is a spicy one here.
Yeah.
Hope, you are on 4 points. Jack, you are on 2 points. Jason, you are on 4 points.
Yeah.
We
Well,
have
yeah.
a tie today, and I don't have a tiebreaker question, so I'm going to have to split this trophy.
I feel like Jason kind of cheated on that thing where
So, although there is an asterisk points there, so I believe by technicality, Hope you win it.
Yeah, see, that's technicalities again. The classic, El Clasico. I'm just gonna. And
being
by the way, for next
technically
week,
right is the best kind of right.
the best kind of correct. Yeah, I'm gonna change my name to for next week's trivia. So
Okay, so thank you, Jack, and thank you, Hope, and thank you, viewers, for joining us for another edition of Quiz Time Event. We'll be back in 2 weeks for more gaming news in trivia question form.
hopefully no Galia.
Oh, that'll be good. That'll be Galia then.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally happened. Final Fantasy VII Remake is out 5 years after its initial announcement and countless delays. The million-dollar question on everyone's mind though, how does the reimagining of a cult and critical classic stack up 23 years later? Before I get into that, let's set the scene. Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't deviate too much from the original game's opening, with the eco-terrorist group Avalanche running amok around the sweeping metropolis of Midgar in defiance to the soul-crushing, environment-trashing Shinra Corporation. To help their plans go smoothly, they hire Cloud Strife, who was once on Shinra's payroll as an elite combat specialist, and from there, a timeless adventure begins anew. The first and best thing you'll notice about the game is its striking attention to detail and visuals. Midgar as a setting really shines under Unreal Engine 4, in particular how well the character design translates as well as its spectacular lighting. Everything from the civilians of the city having their own incidental chats, all the way to the individual materia slots on weapons that change depending on what you have equipped, prove that it's all in the details. Combat is the major game changer here, and succeeds in incorporating nuanced, strategic elements with an action RPG edge. As battles and basic attacks occur in real time, these help build your ATB meter, which is used for more advanced maneuvers, magic spells, or even using items. When these are used, the battle slows to a crawl as you navigate command menus, opening opportunities to assess enemy weaknesses or healing party members, and it prevents battles from being too challenging, but never unfair. If there's one thing I could consider a drawback, is that for all of the great world building, the side quest content feels a little underbaked. Most of these quests yield very inconsequential events and rewards, and will feel like a bit of a missed opportunity to further flesh out Midgar. As for everything else, Final Fantasy VII Remake remains a great start to the reimagining of a cult classic, and will do well in whetting your appetite for the next installment in the series.
That was Matt's thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I guess it's one of those funny things. Yes, I love my Japanese content, I love my Japanese pop culture and all that, but the one thing that passed me by, and I never really went back for, Final Fantasy VII. And it was funny because I was surrounded by people who loved it. Kirsty, we got Trey, we got Jamie, we got all these people. We've also got Matt, who is also another big fan of obviously the Final Fantasy series, but especially 7. I don't know, to me, it's an interesting game from the point of view that, as somebody who never enjoyed, teenagers standing in a line, I'm actually interested in playing it. I'm actually interested in, from what I've seen from live streams and stuff, and I've seen a fair bit of live stream. I still actually want to give it a go myself. And do you think that's what they were going for? Is it more aimed at me, or do you think it's aimed at a demographic that I'm missing?
I think it definitely really toes the line between people who are essentially legacy enjoyers of the game, so people who grew up with the PlayStation, i.e. myself, and probably all the people that you listed just before. So I can tell that you're the Nintendo kid because you never really got the appeal, so that's fine.
But yeah,
okay, well there you go.
So yeah, I'll explain that later. So yeah, I'll explain that later. So yeah.
But yeah, that's the whole thing with you is that I think that, I guess you were just kind of wrong place, wrong time. But I think Final Fantasy VII does a really good job at towing that line of a new audience, enticing new audiences, this new generation, introducing them to a very critically and cult-lauded classic. And also keeping some of the legacy players happy. Now, with most of those cases, we usually have, when you have those kinds of games that cater towards both demographics, you get most of the times you'll get the case where the game has a bit of an identity crisis. It doesn't know which audience it wants to go for, and then decides to play it safe, to its detriment. However, Final Fantasy VII, in one strange way, shape or form, it seems to manage to nail and get that balance right.
The joke has been that it's Final Fantasy VII made in the Yakuza engine, but it's Final Fantasy VII made the Yakuza engine, but it's to its betterment. It's tongue in cheek. There's sneaky kind of, I say adult references, but they're kind of adult references. Here, there, and everywhere. There's little bits and pieces that are enjoyable. It has enough fun with itself, and yet still stays true to the characters and stays true to kind of the progression of the story, at least from what I know. Because this is the thing, like you mentioned, I was a Sega kid growing up, so I missed a lot of the Super NES RPGs. I played Chrono Trigger, but that's because someone lent me their Super NES. So it's that thing of, I never had that nostalgia for that style of gameplay. And you mentioned Phantasy Star, and Phantasy Star was about as close as I got, but Shining Force was kind of turn-based and strategic one, so it wasn't that, stand in a line, blah blah blah. to me, it feels like in a lot of ways that it's Nomura's take on Tabata's. Well, like, I mean, it's Nomura's take on the whole thing, but at the same time, it's unique enough to go, all right, it's your baby. I mean, he's done a good enough job of at least representing himself through the work, and I think that's to the game's betterment.
Yeah, and I guess the whole first part of Midgar is it is a game that it is a game and a narrative that has its serious notes, but also has its kind of, it almost feels like anime filler sometimes to a degree, where you have to infiltrate Don Corneo's mansion by dressing up as women. And all that sort of stuff, and the way that they handle that is
the dance sequence in this one. We won't go into.
And the dance sequence is extra as it has any right to be, which is great too. Like they have a lot of fun with the areas. Like Wall Market is essentially like Kowloon Walled City. It's just a lot of fun to be had. Even some of the side quests, like they do drop the ball sometimes on it being like just standard fetch quests, but I think the game just like it nails its world building enough. That it makes Midgar worth exploring, and I think that's to be commended for. I think as far as going from the original game to the remake, they managed to maintain the spirit of the original game, but they also add a little bit of new trickle out a little bit of new content for some of the legacy players, but it's enough for new players too.
That is the big thing, is that when it first came in, we got the email saying, oh, here's the review guidelines. You can't spoil this story mission. You can't spoil this. I'm like, spoiling Final Fantasy VII story? And then watching it being played and a little bit I did play, I'm like, holy crap. Like, it really is just reinventing those traditional story notes the game hit. And it goes off in its own thing, and it sets up for the next one, and it's obviously setting up for at least one or two more. Like, I like that it did that, and I'm glad that it did, but just it went out of its way to kind of destroy the old canon. Like it reminds me of Ava Remake in that sense. Like you say, like the Marco reactor's all pretty similar, it's all pretty the same, and then suddenly it's like, wow, this is different. Like it's like it's like Ava, like after the Diamond Angel, it's completely different. And I think once again I think it just works. It nails it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what's really good, because it starts off very familiar, and then afterwards, oh my god, my cat is in the way again. Sorry about that, guys. She's shown twice, but anyway, what I'm saying is that the game in particular just seems to manage to start off very, very similar, very familiar, and then slowly starts trickling and like throwing the rug from under you later on in the game. So for those who are looking forward to it and are very familiar with the original game, definitely look forward to those slight changes in narrative.
Thank you, Mark. That is the episode done for today. Do not forget to check us out at newgameplus.tv. But also you can go to Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I'm sure I'm missing one. Instagram at New Game Plus TV. Don't forget to check out the Murasaki Gemu content, which is our Japanese-specific focus content. There should be a bunch up on the website, newgameplus.tv for now. But if you also go to murasakigemu.tv, you will also be treated to that content. And we will see you guys next week.